I'm going to call this meeting of the Oskaloosa City Council to order. Today is June 2nd, 2014. We'll start with the invocation by Pastor Andrea Brownlee, First Christian Church.
Will you pray with me? Holy One, I pray your wisdom and guidance be in this place. Guide all who are here as they speak. Guide them as they share with one another. Guide the leaders of this community. Guide those who have gathered to share with those who have been elected to guide and direct this city. I pray, O God, as they have gathered here, as they make decisions for the city of Oskaloosa, that your presence be around them. In their words, in their actions, in all that they do this evening. Hear our prayer this day, O God. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor. Charlie, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Here, we're going to do it. Charlie doesn't
Yes.
go up.
Moore, Van Zetten,
Yes.
Versteeg,
Yes.
Walling,
Present.
Yates.
Here.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Moving on, this is the time for community comments. This item is reserved to receive comments from the community for concerns whether or not they're included on the current agenda. The community is encouraged to come and speak before the mayor and city council, asked to keep statements brief. Time will be limited to no more than 3 minutes. Any questions are to be asked of the city staff, the council members, or the mayor prior to speaking to the full council. So that way the concerns can be properly researched and perhaps even answered away from the meeting. Comments are to be directed to the mayor and city council only. Is there anyone who would care to speak at this time?
Tom Gillespie, will he have a chance to speak when we get to his? Or should he
Yeah.
speak now?
No, we can call him up.
Okay.
Okay.
You can do it later, Tom.
My name is Dawn Collins, and I live at 309 O Avenue East. I apologize that out of all the meetings I've been here, the one that I choose to speak about the Blue Zones project is the one that I have a hoarse throat, so I apologize. I'm here tonight asking you to pass the Blue Zones resolution. The governor released the Healthiest State Initiative because the health of our citizens and our communities is at a crisis point. The governor saw the Blue Zones project as a way to bring experts and resources to Iowa to help us change the health of our state, and it is working. The Mahaska Wellness Coalition researched and pursued Blue Zones project because we believe it can give our community the resources we need to create positive change for our quality of life in Oskaloosa. Oskaloosa competed for this project. We were one of 54 communities to compete for this project. This is not a government initiative imposed on us. This is something that community leaders chose to pursue. In November of 2012, the Blue Zones project visited Oskaloosa to confirm our readiness and our interest. It was hosted by the Mahaska Wellness Coalition, and this well-attended meeting was held at William Penn University. It included many prominent community representatives. Schools were represented by our superintendent, our principals, school board members, and the PTO. Key employers were present, and they confirmed their interest in the Blue Zones project and said, yes, we want this in Oskaloosa. The city representation included 2 city council members, the city manager, and Chamber of Commerce representation. Oskaloosa community leaders asked for the Blue Zones to come here with your support. Over 750 people attended our kickoff event. It was the largest attendance at any of the 10 kickoff events of the 10 demonstration sites selected in Iowa. Almost 500 residents have already pledged and have already started working on their pledges. 16 work sites, 2 restaurants and 2 grocery stores have already started their work for their pledges, and some of them are already almost finished and are ready for verification. Hundreds of your constituents want the Blue Zones project. Between our 40 Mahaska Wellness Coalition members, the 140 Blue Zone volunteers who have already gone through days of orientation training, the 560 who have pledged in all the work sites and grocery stores, please support us as we work to improve the quality of life and the health of Oskaloosa and its residents. If we do not address our health crisis now, what will our future generations be facing? The Blue Zones project is a tool to help the city and our major employers and our community leaders with setting a common vision and common goals for our community and for our quality of life. At your last meeting, you heard from a frustrated citizen on sidewalks that are not connected strategically. We need sidewalk connectivity from our trail to places where our citizens live, work, and play, so that we can use it intentionally and not just for recreation. The Blue Zones project, again, is a tool that can help us to move these initiatives that we already want forward. We need to work together to improve the quality of life of Oskaloosa. You know a good quality of life is critical to attracting and retaining a quality workforce in our community. You have hundreds of passionate and committed citizens and residents, as well as several organizations and businesses who are behind you 100% tonight. We need you to look inside yourselves tonight for the courage to vote yes for this resolution despite your concerns. Please think about this from a strategic perspective. Don't get caught up in the minutiae yet. Please think about how the Blue Zones project can support your visionary goal to improve the quality of life of Oskaloosa. And please remember that this is a non-binding resolution. We are asking you to vote yes to consider the pledge options on the menu. If the consideration and research leads us to believe that something in that menu is not realistic, then we can take it off the list later, and that's fine. But please let all of the hundreds of people have the opportunity to move forward with this journey, and please join us. Thank you.
Thank you, Don. Is there anyone else who would care to speak at this time? Moving on. Item number 5 is the consent agenda. This is things that are routine in nature, minutes, reports, beer permit requests. Also fixing the date for a public hearing on a proposition of entering into a lease agreement for a postage meter system. It's the third reading of an ordinance amending the city code having to do with chapter 10.78. And also authorizing the purchase of some new computers with the library maintenance fund. So do we have a motion for approval of the consent agenda?
So move. Second.
Question.
Yes.
Item I. Why are we all of a sudden being asked if they can do something? Is it because they're invading the building and grounds fund for computers?
Maintenance.
Or is it something, because we don't usually approve. They're their own group, right?
They are, correct. So the library board is responsible for the operation and maintenance of the facility and then the allocation of the budget that you present to them through the approval of the budget. But in this specific instance, I believe it's section 2.72150, section B2, talks about the board may expend up to $10,000 without prior approval of the city council from this particular fund. This was an unexpected or unplanned item or unbudgeted item, so that's why it's coming to you.
So it's not it's not where they're getting the money, it's the amount.
It's both.
Both.
Yes.
The fact it's coming out of the building fund.
Yeah, yes, because the Oskaloosa Code talks specifically about this funding source.
I guess the other question I had on the same item is the invoice shows that it's paid. I mean, are we getting this after the fact, or, I mean, has this already happened and we're just kind of stamping it, or?
The bill has not actually been paid, a check has not been cut and sent out, but the library board has approved it on their end and stamped it paid and sent over to the city, so.
Okay.
And then also with the maintenance fund, there's the corpus, if you will, funds, and then there's also interest and investment income. Is there a way to tell if this is being spent out of the investment income of the fund? or-
It is being spent out of the investment, yeah.
Okay,
It's not dipping into the additional principal of the fund.
okay.
One other question on the claims. There's a claim to Brick Gentry in the amount of $4,230.69. It lists legal services by date. Is that specifically tied to the legal action that we have ongoing with the water board member? Or is that just general services provided by Brick Gentry?
Amy's going to have the exact bill there.
Right, it's all regarding the water board.
Yeah, we haven't
like-
retained Brick Gentry
For any
recently
other
for any
services, this
other
looks like it's all
services.
for the water.
Being as you brought up the water, the minutes on the water board meetings are somewhat vague. Is that what they send over to us, or is that it?
Yeah, what I received, or what we received, we forward on to you.
It's pretty vague what really goes on over there. I don't know that reading those minutes do us any good at all, actually.
Yeah, nothing requires that they keep detailed minutes, just like our council meeting minutes. They're specifically just the item and then the action typically, not any additional discussion.
I guess I'm okay with I if everybody else is, so pass it on the consent agenda. Okay with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other comments or questions? Roll call, please.
Yates,
Yes.
Caligiuri.
Yes.
Jimenez.
Yes.
Van Zetten.
Yes.
Versteg.
Yes.
Walling.
Yes.
Okay, that passes. Item number 6, this is the announcement of vacancies that we have on various boards and commissions. The first one is the Building Code Board of Appeals. We have 2 vacancies to fill upon appointment. They serve at the pleasure of the mayor. It's a 5-member board that meets as needed. Currently, we have 3 males serving and 2 vacancies. The Water Board, we have 1 vacancy for a 6-year term that begins on July 1st, 2014, and ends on June 30th of 2020. This is a 3-member board, typically meeting on the first Monday after the 10th of the month. Currently, we have 3 males serving. Moving on, item number 7, the regular agenda. Item A, first item is a public hearing considering an ordinance to vacate and sell 120-foot by 16.5-foot of the north-south public alley adjacent to 505 4th Avenue East. This is the first reading. Thomas Lucius, the contract deed holder of 505 4th Avenue East, has requested that the portion of the north-south alley adjacent to their property be vacated. The reason for the alley vacate is to restrict the traffic flow on the alley. Darrell Martin, the owner of 505 4th Avenue East, approves the proposed alley vacate. Mr. Lucius and adjacent property owners Kathleen and Denny Seibert of 511 4th Avenue East intend to purchase their respective halves of the alley. The applicant intends to purchase their section of the alley to help restrict traffic that goes through the alley. The city conducted a survey of households with direct access to this alley, and among the residents that responded, a total of 9, 8 of them want the alley to be vacated and 1 does not want the alley vacated because it will block access to his garage at 508 3rd Avenue East. The property along 508 3rd Avenue East will have access to the northern portion of the alley off of 3rd Avenue East. This alley also contains public sanitary sewer and MCG utility infrastructure. Hence, easement rights will need to be retained for access to the above-mentioned utilities. Planning and Zoning Commission considered this item at their May 12, 2014 meeting, recommended by a vote of 4 to 1 to 1, 4 yes, 1 no, 1 abstention, that the City Council approve the vacate request. Commission member Holden Barnhart opposed the alley vacation. Commission member Wendell Campbell abstained because he was familiar with the property owner in the area. And so I will open the public hearing at this time. Is there anyone who would care to speak regarding this matter? Yes. Yes, sir. Name and address, please.
My name is Adam Sterrett. My address is 1401 River Road in Oskaloosa, but I own the property at 508 3rd Avenue East. And due to the location of where that garage door is at, it's going to interfere with me being able to get into the garage at that property by closing the alleyway on the other side.
Okay.
Item is
says you can get it from the other end. Is that not
Right.
No, it's not correct because the garage door is located on the far corner of the building, and you'd have to drive through their yard a little bit to even be able to turn that sharp into the garage itself. I think if you took a look at the property and where the garage door is located, you'd be able to see that it wouldn't be an easy way to access it.
Are we trying to pull it up here on the computer?
Yeah, it's going to be the same information that you have here in your packet.
I did go down and look at this, and his only access is east and west. He can get in there from those directions, but that alley is very seldom used. It looks like it's mostly grassed over. And if there's ever going to sell any of those alleys on those ends, east-west side, then he's landlocked. He can't get in. He can't move his garage door to the other end of his garage because he doesn't have any room. He'd have to tear part of his house off and his deck off. So coming in from the north is not good.
But you're saying he can come in from the east and the west?
He can until they start buying alleys on that end, east or side or the west side, which is a good possibility if you go down there and look. And then he can't get in if they put a gate up.
Right, but if we don't approve those in the future,
Right.
he has access from the east and the west
Yes.
now.
Well, it kind of depends on what size vehicle you're driving. I
Right.
suppose if you're driving a Geo Metro, you could probably turn it on a dime and get right in there, but if you're driving a full-size truck or something of that size, you're not going to be able to turn into there by driving in the alley.
You're saying even from the east or the west?
No, yes, correct. Like I say, if you're driving a small car, you could probably turn it right in there, but not driving a full-size truck, you'll never get it turned in there.
I talked to Patty Seibert about this, why she wanted the gate up, and this sounds more like a nuisance complaint than a necessity to buy an alley. I think there's burning going on in a barrel, and she's getting smoke, which the gate isn't going to stop. She's getting trash over there, which the gate probably won't stop. So she's going to buy an alley that she's already maintaining. Both of those properties are already maintaining their alley just to put a gate up, and I think she's wasting her money.
So essentially, he's going to be landlocked if we sell this.
In my opinion, he will be, yeah. Like I said, eventually he could come from the east or west, but like he said, if you got the right size vehicle.
You're going to sell one half.
Where's that picture go?
There you go, right there. Sorry.
If I look in that top picture, there's an open garage door kind of in the background.
That's the one.
Is that
That's
the
the one.
garage that you have a concern with?
Yeah, it's right on the corner of the building.
And if you come in from the east, I did it with my truck, and if you look in that photo there, to the right, there's a garage. The alley's pretty, well, I won't say up against the backside of the garage, but it's very, very close.
Yeah.
So I tried to go with my truck to see if I can get into his garage, and it was tight. It's narrow.
Certainly it's tight. It's tight.
Is there two garage doors in that garage I can't see, or is it just the
Yeah,
one
there's
that's
a
open?
sliding door, it'd be on the east end. There's a sliding door on the east end there also.
So are we selling this half right here?
That's what's proposed.
And then this is his place right
Yes.
here?
Right.
So the only way that he could get there is taking that right there and making that 90 into that thing? Is that the way that I'm understanding this?
If you come in
Either
from the
180
north.
or a 90.
He's either got to come from the east or west, or coming in from the north.
Yeah, there's no way. I mean, if you're driving a truck, I couldn't.
Coming in from the north, you can.
And so if they sell that other half down there, that landlocks this whole thing? This sells?
They probably won't sell the north half because he's probably not going to let that happen unless he buys
Well, he
it.
can't. I mean,
But
obviously.
it's the east and west that eventually, and we'd have to make sure that we never sold east or west. Otherwise, he is landlocked for that garage.
Well, wouldn't he be a candidate to buy it if we went east-west as well?
Yes.
Not on the far ends, the east end or the west
You
end.
have to offer it to the, yeah.
Yeah.
He would be able to object like he did here.
Yeah.
But that's about as far as it would go.
Well, Adam, how much traffic is going down through there that they're complaining
You know, it's a
about?
rental property, so I'm not really in the area much, so I don't know how, there's another rental house beside that one also, so I'm not sure how much traffic goes through there or not, but I can understand why they might want to try to slow the traffic down through there if there is quite a bit, I guess, but I'm not aware of how much traffic actually goes through the alley.
Adam, you weren't the traffic.
No, not me, not me.
You're not doing burnouts or anything like that?
No, sir.
All right.
But at the same time, it's going to reduce the value of that property in that garage if I can't pull a vehicle into the garage once that alleyway gets blocked.
Doug, are you thinking you can sell half of this alley and be okay with it? Is that what your
No, I'm
angle
just
is?
trying to understand. I don't feel that, I don't feel we should do something to limit his property value.
I don't either. I mean, that's kind of, I don't see in this particular case, he's going to be landlocked. I don't see how you can go either way unless you have an argument to say that you could sell the other half. And that's not what anybody's asking for at this point.
Yeah, it's the people on 505 and 511.
It's not selling the alley we're talking about, it's putting the gate up we're talking about. And I don't know if Patty would even want the alley if she couldn't put a gate up. Patty, am I right? You still want to buy the alley if there's no gate there?
No, I know, but I want to stop the traffic, and all the traffic is right in your yard.
Okay. Where would you put the gate at? Would it be on the south side of the alley or on the north side?
It would be the whole back of the alley.
Okay.
North side.
Okay, where the two alleys
She'd have
intersect?
to put it on the north side if she bought it, she'd have to.
Well, she'd own to the end of that, yeah.
So what I guess I'm wondering is
Like I see.
if you place the gate any differently, would it make life any easier? Would it? Probably not.
Is that gate going like from here? Is that what we do?
Goes across.
We cut that off right there
Yep.
in the back?
Just before you get to the intersection there would be a gate.
How would he get, if we do that, how would you propose that he would get in there if we sold that? I mean, is there a logical way that
Well,
we haven't thought
just
of?
last week, they had a van in there. They pulled the van in. They don't usually use that.
I get a full-size truck, and I would have a I have a tough time even here in town. So I can see his concern with that.
You say that? I want to make sure I understood. That's rental property, so you're renting it to tenants.
Correct. But I feel like regardless of use, whether it's my personal residence or my property, I don't want to, like I say, devalue the value of it by not being able to enter it correctly.
Right, I understand.
Any other questions of Mr. Zarig? Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you.
Is there anyone else who would care to speak on this matter? Okay, I'll close the public hearing. Whoop, I'm sorry.
If we don't put a fence up there in the back, I mean, the traffic that comes through there, and we have little kids over, the neighbors has kids, someone's gonna get hurt, because they fly through that alley.
Just for the official record, name and address, please.
Kathleen Seibert, I go as Patty, 511 4th Avenue East.
So in your opinion, is there a compromise that can be reached on this? Some way to slow down the traffic and yet allow Mr. Zarig the access he requires?
I wish there was. Could I put 2 fence posts there so the cars can't go through, and he can still get in the garage? I'd be happy with that.
How does the fence post stop the traffic though, Patty, if he can get through?
If we put the 2 posts up that a car can't come through, I'd be happy.
But then he couldn't come through either though. That's what he needs to do is get into his garage if he ever sells the house.
Are you doing this to stop the traffic? Is that your first concern?
Traffic and the trash. He has a great big, I mean, we pick up garbage all the time. There's nothing like 15, 20 bags of garbage outside.
It's the nuisance thing, I think, more than a alley.
Is the trash, Patty, coming out of the vehicles going down the alley, or is the
No,
trash
it's
belong
coming
to a
from the rental
resident?
property.
It comes from the rental property. So closing the alley won't help that, but we should be able to help on that, different means.
We have great big potholes. I fill them up. They go all mud. And then when they go flying through the alley, it goes all over the garage.
Well, as you probably know, that's why we're willing to close them if it doesn't affect anybody, because we don't maintain alleys as a city, right?
That's correct.
Correct. We don't, if the resident wants to pay for the rock, we'll haul the rock and then they can be billed for it.
Could we table this? This is just a public hearing, isn't it?
This is just a public hearing,
Yeah.
yeah. So we've got a couple more readings that
Right.
would come after this.
Is there a method to slow the traffic without closing it? I guess, Jake, do you know of any method that we could look at? And I'm not talking law enforcement, sometimes, is there any traffic control methods?
Speed bumps.
Speed bumps.
Put humps, bumps.
And I think you'd probably find that from the traffic engineering standpoint, you'd probably want to tighten up that alley. You give it a visual appearance that it's narrower than it is. I mean, I think that's what you could do, but I don't know if we would suggest anything else.
Right.
You could put obstructions in the way. I mean, that's,
So if the trash was solved, okay, that still leaves traffic, correct? And is the traffic really coming out of the rental property, or is it everybody in general?
Rental.
Okay, so this rental property is really causing the issue, so.
There's two rental properties, one,
Yeah.
Just the one.
just one? Okay.
Are we talking about bad renters here that are ripping up and down the alleyway? Is that really what we're looking at?
Yeah.
So if we solved that problem and we solved the trash problem, there'd be no reason to do this, correct?
Well, they'll clean the trash up when they go to the dump, but then it just piles up. It's on the side of one side now. And if they put it out on the alley side,
Here we go.
How often does the trash sit out there?
if you go by there right now, it's on the opposite side. But usually it's out
Like a month, 30 days?
in the
I
alley.
mean, how long?
There's about 15 bags out there now. And then there's this great big stock barrel in the alley behind the garage that he burns fires all the time.
Burns trash or burns fire?
He burns wood.
Don't we have a burning man here? You can't
He's
do
been
that?
called several times for the fires out in the, he had a little pit, now he got a great big stock barrel. Don't get me wrong, I get along with him, but it's getting
Sounds-
ridiculous.
It sounds like we've got a few enforcement issues that I think we could probably solve and not have to get rid of, I see what you're trying to do. And I'd rather fix the problem than trying to limit the property.
Is Adam still out there?
Yeah, he's down there.
Adam? Are we talking about your renters or the other renters?
It's hard to say. Well, you think it's the renters at my property. then.
His renters.
Okay.
Yeah,
Can
so
you talk to your renters?
I've talked to him before, and sometimes renting houses can be a challenge. It's a
Yep.
job all in itself. So I've talked with them, and the city hasn't contacted me or anything, as far as the trash being a nuisance or anything. So, I try to limit how much I interfere with the renters as far as what they're doing. If there's something I see when I drive by, of course, I bring it up to them. But it sounds like there's a problem with the renter, and I just don't want to permanently do anything to vacating this alley that I can't unwind by having a problem with trash and with different problems of that sort.
Well, Mayor, it'd be okay with me if Adam's willing to talk to him. This is a public hearing, we're going to talk about this 2 more times, right?
Yep.
So if you're willing to talk to your renters, and come back so we can tell Patty then
And
maybe there's...
what do I need to discuss with them about driving down the alley
Well,
or the trash?
all the above, it sounds like.
Yeah, I
Speeding,
wasn't
trash,
sure
I
what we
don't
were here
know.
to work on, I
I can
guess.
sum it up real quick. You have the opportunity to go in and fix your rental problem with trash and all this other
Correct.
stuff. If we get involved, we'll probably sell the alley, and that's going to hurt you, and I don't want to go that route. So I want to give you the opportunity to clean it up. I don't care how you do it. That's your business. You know your renters.
Okay.
You go in and you lay down the law and say, listen, if this doesn't clean up, then you need to take appropriate actions because you know what's coming down the pipe.
That's more the concern as opposed to traffic. It's the trash that's beside the house.
Well, the traffic
They need
too.
to slow down, Adam.
Yeah.
Tell them.
Adam, he doesn't use that
Well, I mean, I can
garage.
tell them to slow down, but
Adam, I don't think your renter's using the garage for a vehicle right now.
perhaps
So
not.
he has no reason to use this part of the alley anyway. So just tell him that. Say, stay out of that alley.
Yeah, and I can do all I can to try to keep them from driving through it, but unless
We
I'm parked in the
understand,
middle
Adam,
of
but
it.
you can try it. If
Yeah,
you-
I
if
most
you-
definitely will. Yeah, I most definitely will.
Other than that, we're probably going to...
You might have a gate up there if you don't. That's what,
Yeah.
Yeah, I can do everything I can to try to get them to quit driving through the alley.
Okay.
All right, so I want to be clear that I'm going to go with this. I'm going to vote yes on this. And I'll expect to see you back and say, hey, I've made some clear headway here. Hopefully you can see something noticeable, and then we might be able to, at which point, I don't want to see that.
I want
But
you to
I'm giving you the
understand.
opportunity, to clean it up.
If you're voting yes for a gate also.
Right, but we have two more times to
Yeah.
kill it. And that's, it keeps it on the table. You agree with that?
I won't vote yes putting the gate up. I'll vote yes on selling the alley, but I think this is a problem that can be solved without selling an alley, so.
At this point, we're still in a hearing, so
Right.
before we start brokering things.
Right.
Is there anyone else who would care to speak?
Oh, come on, Mayor.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm going to close the public hearing now. Now, where were we? Comments? Oh, yes, do we have a motion for approval of this alley vacation?
I'll make a motion for it.
Okay, we got a motion, do we have a second?
I'll second it, just so we can vote on it.
Okay. Any further comments?
Are you with the motion or are you against the motion right now? What are you thinking?
We're going to vote.
I know we're going to. I just want to.
You're voting to sell an alley and put a gate up. That's what you're
No,
voting
we're
on.
voting to sell the alley. Whatever she decides to do with it.
No, it's right in the language. You're voting to put a gate up.
I'm not putting a gate up.
Well, that's what you're allowing if you vote.
Well, we're selling it to her. I mean,
Unless you
I
want to
don't-
change your motion and say sell the alley without the gate.
Well, if that would be an option, I mean, I could consider that. But you still have to have some sort of easement attached to that. I don't know what that would do for her.
And again, I think this being a first reading, I'd like to give the property owner a chance to go back and deal with it, because we still have a second and third reading where we can vote no if he comes back to us and said, I've talked to him and I'll take responsibility for dealing with it.
That's where I think. You give them a chance, but you also still keep it on the table and see if it cleans it up.
Roll call, please.
Caligari?
No.
Jimenez?
Yes.
Van Zetten?
Yes.
Versteeg?
No.
Walling?
Yes.
Yates?
Yes.
Okay, 4-2, it passes. Moving on. Item B is to consider a request from Mr. Gillespie to waive a sidewalk maintenance and use regulations as outlined in Chapter 12.12 of the Oskaloosa Municipal Code for parcel number 113-012-6013, generally located at west of 1103 Woodland Road. During the May 19, 2014 call of the public, Mr. Gillespie made a request to remove the existing sidewalk that's located generally west of 1103 Woodland Road, and then specifically described as the parcel number I read off earlier. The existing sidewalk is within the city's right-of-way, and according to Oskaloosa Municipal Code, Chapter 12.12, sidewalk maintenance and use regulations, the sidewalk must remain in place and continue to be maintained free of defects by the property owner. Mr. Gillespie is requesting a waiver from the Oskaloosa Municipal Code, Chapter 12.12, so he can proceed with removing the sidewalk within the right-of-way and discontinue with his maintenance responsibilities. So we have a motion to To allow Mr. Gillespie to remove the sidewalk.
Mr. Mayor, just as a point of clarification, I made a mistake on this item and only listed one parcel number. I failed to realize that Mr. Gillespie also wanted the parcel to the east, which is his residence,
Oh, okay.
as included in this request for a waiver.
Okay.
It's both of them.
So it's both of
That
them.
parcel was owned by my wife and her sister. And there are sidewalks in front of that parcel.
The yellow, the house
The
is to
yellow.
the right of the picture.
The yellow is the lot to the west of the house. The house is to the right of the yellow rectangle up there. And there are sidewalks in front of that house and all along that lot that are virtually the worst sidewalks on Woodland because they're virtually the only sidewalks on Woodland, just about. And just a little history on this. This property was part of about 30 acres that was platted into what they call Waveland. And then they were assigned some lots. And then somebody came in and was going to subdivide this. Now, when, I have no idea. These sidewalks have been here virtually before 1958 was when the house was built. And so I don't know how old these sidewalks are. In 1965, the city annexed the sidewalk, or annexed the property into the city limits. But initially, the sidewalks were put in by a private individual. The county didn't require it, and the city didn't require it, and they have not been maintained since 1958. Nobody from the city has said anything about these sidewalks until I brought it up, which that may be my mistake, maybe not. I just want to get them, I'm not against sidewalks, but I'm against sidewalks that you can't walk on and that don't go anyplace. That's what I'm against. And I've got some liability here. And I'd like to take them out, seat them down, and just like everybody else in the neighborhood. And then once sidewalks are required in that area, when and if they ever are, go about the process of putting them back in. That's all I'm requesting.
So with that in mind, do we have a motion regarding these sidewalks?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, and the motion is?
That allow them to remove the sidewalks.
Okay.
Wait, to remove it or to waive the requirement? What you put them in, not him.
To waive the requirement.
You want to waive the requirement.
What do you mean waive the requirement?
That's what it talks about in the agenda. That chapter 12.12 says that he's got to
I see, yes.
maintain them.
Right.
So through removal, there would be no maintenance.
Right.
Motion, second.
Okay. Tom and I talked, obviously. Tom's mother married my father, okay? I lived in that house most of my life. I rode my tricycle up and down that sidewalk. I can guarantee you that sidewalk, and I know this isn't a legal point, but in my mind, because I promoted sidewalks, I told Tom Gillespie, I said, Tom, I'll probably be voting against you when it first came up, because we have, not all of us, but majority have supported sidewalks. But those sidewalks were there when it was county property. I really hope they would end up being privately on the private land and out of the roadway, but I understand that was checked, and it is in the city roadway now. The other stipulation to that is the city has already let two other properties take part of that sidewalk out. So as usual, and it's long before all of us, but we're stuck with that kind of situation. So that's the history I can provide.
And again, I've had several conversations with Tom. I too have been a big proponent of sidewalks, even before blue zones. I think we need them. I guess my concern is just starting to do one-off waivers without some level of discussion on what our policy is going to be. Because if we just waive it for this one, which, again, Tom's been very adamant with me to use common sense, and maybe I don't have enough of it, but I have a concern with just saying we're going to waive this one, and then as the parade of folks start coming in without us saying what is going to be our qualifications. And I think we need to step back, and if as a council we feel we want to allow these waivers, which I'm not saying I do, but I certainly want to be open to it, I don't think we want to start by just saying, okay, this one seems to make sense and we'll take them one off as they come. So that is my concern. Not this particular one, but what is going to be our policy? Because as Tom Walling has always just said, we haven't had a good one in the past. And my view up to this point has been we need to have sidewalks. We don't have near enough of them. I'd rather us be talking about what Mr. Gillespie's already said. Let's get them all in out there. Let's figure out how to do that so they don't go to nowhere. But we're probably not ready for that as a community. But to just make a waiver, I have a concern with that without understanding what we're going to do when the next 10 requests come in.
Is this a better discussion to table and then put something on the agenda to actually tackle these one-offs? Because you know Brian Bowie's going to be right back in.
Absolutely.
This
I agree with what
makes
Doug said, but this doesn't have anything to do with Brian. Brian told us he was going to build a sidewalk. He gave us a plat that said that, and he didn't do it. That was a contractor issue. It wasn't a sidewalk issue. But what Doug is saying is true. It opens scrutiny on this. That's why I'm concerned about it. And I only offered the history. I told Tom, I said, if this history could make a difference, you know, maybe it would be a loophole. Because if we tell him he has to fix them, what are we going to tell the other two properties that have taken them out? Because it's not one sidewalk now, there's two voids in it. You can see it in the picture.
Mm-hmm. But you can also see other sidewalks that are there. So
pardon?
You can also see other sidewalks that are still there.
Yeah, the whole thing. It goes all the way from the corner of South 11th and Woodland Road to the house that Joe Crookham bought that was the Lamberson house. That was one sidewalk I rode my tricycle on, okay? But there's two voids in it now. There's a void in front of the house on the corner, and there's a half of a void on Tracy Ryan's house.
And see, I don't want to get involved in names.
I know,
mean,
but this is
I'm
where
just
it's
looking
going.
at my special situation here.
But those sidewalks have been taken out, and they've been taken out since it was a sidewalk. So that's what makes it complicated.
And greatly appreciate it is your situation, but our situation's every sidewalk in the city. So
But I could see as a city council, you've got this ordinance, but if a request came up, why couldn't you hear the request just as I'm doing right now? I mean, that's your prerogative.
Sidewalks every week.
Well,
I don't do. I mean, that's.
I mean,
it's not the answer you want to hear.
Yeah,
but
no,
that's
I
the
know
answer.
that.
Yeah.
I know that.
But if there is really an issue, we need to take them out. We need to take it to a committee, whichever one's right, come up with what we're going to allow and disallow, so that the staff can make those decisions without people having to come in here every week. If that's what we need to do, I don't know that it's no difference than we talked about waiving sewer or whatever they were, overruns or water. We said no, we're going to have a policy. That's what we need to do to be fair to everybody in the community. That's my concern. I know it doesn't address your need, but I'm stating my concern and where I stand on the issue.
Well, other than time, what's the difference between him asking for a waiver or Brian Bowie asking for a waiver when he came to us? I mean, yes, he told us he was going to build the sidewalks in. And at that time, I thought Jason made a very good motion to say he could put them in whenever the city put the rest of them in up to 11th through Edmondson Park. And then Brian could finish his. We could do the same thing here. He's saying the same thing. He's saying he'll take the sidewalks out, but he'll put them in whenever we tell him that the rest of the city, the rest of the street.
You've got the ability to do that.
What?
You've got the ability to do that.
Right. We had the
You don't
ability
have
to do it for Brian too, but we didn't.
Yeah.
Somehow there was the ability to do it when they did I&M, but somehow we didn't end up with sidewalks. So
That's right.
I guess I'm going to struggle about saying we can just do whatever we want, because it didn't happen there when it should have.
And they fought over I&M for 2 years.
Yeah, so I'm not willing to just say let's do it willy-nilly. That's my perspective. It's only one.
Mayor, Council, if a property owner wants to give city payment in lieu of, I suppose it could be done at a future date, but they're going to have to pay us a cost for the construction of the sidewalk and then potentially some administrative fees to do it. I've seen, that's what developers do.
So it's actually a deposit in advance.
Pay the cost of putting in the sidewalks today, in today dollars, and then the city ends up eating the cost in the event we put it in the future.
And when is the future?
Well, that's
Could be 10 years,
a policy
20
question
years.
for you as council, but
It
that
could be
is an option.
The development area can change in that area?
I think that way,
I mean-
you ensure that a willing participant today maybe doesn't move away, and so Mr. Gillespie says, yes, I'm willing to do it, but 10 years down the road, if he happens to sell the property or something like that, you may not have a willing participant.
When we did the town-wide sidewalk survey, what did it say about the sidewalks on Woodland Road?
I don't recall offhand.
Were they, I don't know, I think that's what we did. We paid and had that survey to fill in all the voids, right?
Yeah, it should represent what was in the field. That's all it did.
Well, I'm just saying this, I'm making a point, you know that. It's a void. There are two voids there, and it must not have come up that those are ones to fill in. I don't.
We haven't started necessarily chewing off those big pieces
I know, we just
that are
looked.
missing.
Just looked at
The
them.
purpose of that study was more about connecting pedestrians to the schools. And one addition to the scope of the work was to also do a full citywide inventory so that we had that on record to at least have a baseline of information.
You got anything there, Dave?
What's the future of the lot that is in yellow right now?
The future,
Uh-huh.
we're holding it. We don't plan on selling it. And that's between my wife and her sister, but they've told us they're holding it. So it's being mowed. At one point in time, it was a pasture with a horse in it. But it's being mowed. So there is no future. I mean, no, we've had inquiries about somebody wanting to buy it, but no. We're not planning on selling it.
If the sidewalk were removed, how would people, I mean, is there a sidewalk on the other side or is
No.
No? Okay.
There is no sidewalk on the other side.
Okay.
I've only seen, well, somebody played a joke on me last week. I was riding and mowing that lot, and somebody from the neighborhood came up and walked on the sidewalk. I have never seen anybody walk on the sidewalk. Everybody walks in the road.
There was actually two sidewalks that were paved up through that pasture too.
Sure,
They're gone.
they're gone.
Well.
We've got a motion and a second. Any other comments?
I mean,
Ready to vote? Roll call, please.
Jimenez,
No.
Van Zetten,
Yes.
Versteg,
Yes.
Walling,
yes.
Yates,
No.
Calgery,
No.
Tie vote. On to the next meeting.
Thank you.
Yeah. Item D, or excuse me, item C, is consider a resolution stating support for actions aligned with achieving Blue Zone certification. A little history here. Blue Zones project received statements of interest from 84 Iowa communities in November of 2011. Of these 84 communities, 58 were invited to submit a comprehensive application. In January 2012, 54 communities submitted completed applications to continue their journey to become a demonstration site. Finalist communities were selected for site visits, and 10 communities with a population of 10,000 or greater were chosen as Blue Zones project demonstration communities. 4 communities launched in 2012, 3 in 2013, and 3 in 2014. And those 3 in 2014 included Oskaloosa. In order for the city of Oskaloosa to become an official Blue Zone community, the city must earn at least 40% or 17 points of the total points listed on the Blue Zones Community Policy Pledge and implement at least 2 pledge action items. During the May 19th, 2014 City Council meeting, the council voted 4-3 with Jimenez, Van Zetten, and Versteeg voting against on a motion to support moving forward with the Planning Committee's recommendation to pursue 16 community policy pledge items totaling 25 points, or 60% of the items. The items included in the recommendation can be found in the resolution of support, and that's attached. As part of becoming a Blue Zones project demonstration community, the city must successfully complete 17 points worth of the community policy pledge items by August of 2015. Assistance towards completing the various community policy pledge items by that date will be provided by way of community volunteers, as well as staff that is hired and assigned to Oskaloosa by Healthways. So at this point, do we have a motion to support the resolution?
So moved. Second.
Okay, discussion?
Yes, I'd like to start if I could, Mayor. I guess I just want to reiterate the statements I've made in past meetings. I think I've tried to be very consistent that I think this is a great opportunity for our community. A lot of people have worked very hard to get us to this point. I think we'd be doing them a great in-service if we did not move it forward and see where this could continue to go. As I stated at the last meeting, I've received significant feedback. And with the exception of the feedback I've gotten from 3 council members, that's the only negative I've gotten from anybody in the community about Blue Zones. It's been email after email. I got several today again, phone call. I was stopped at Friday after 5, Friday night. Everybody that I've talked to wants this to happen. I made that comment 2 weeks ago or our last meeting, in essence asking for somebody to please send me something negative about this, and I can't get it. So our community wants this. The people want this. They're working their tail off for it, and we need to support them. From a private business standpoint, I know Musco thoroughly supports this. Muscatine is also a Blue Zones community, and we've already done the required work that's necessary for us to be part of that activity in Muscatine. We look forward to it. We think it's going to help our business thrive, be successful, and so we definitely want it because it's going to allow us to attract the type of people we need in this community. And so, you know, I can't say it better than Dr. Whitus said it. I can't say it better than Don said it tonight. They know what they're doing. They know why this is so important to us, and we as a council need to support this initiative and see where it can go. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, I'll pick that up from there because I've heard the other opposite end of the spectrum, and you mentioned, you know, they know what's best for us, and I think that's the problem. This isn't a government initiative, and that's the way this thing has been proposed. We're looking at putting in 15 policies over the next year on this issue. And what about the people that haven't signed up? They had 750, 1,000 people who signed up, 12,000 people, in
Not
this
a
town.
single one has came and talked to us.
Decorah has bailed out of this program. There's been other towns that have started to get out of this program just for some of these initiatives. And when you start looking at specifically adopting these healthy vending standards, the food and policies that we're talking about at youth-sponsored sporting events inside the city, we're now talking about creating a separate board of what is healthy and what isn't healthy. And we've seen some of those policies already that limit the size of the drink that you're going to have to 8 ounces. Under 200 calories on some of these snacks. I mean, you have these boards
Might be good.
Well, you know what? That's fine for those individuals and for those businesses to choose. But for us to regulate it from the city to say that you have to do that you can't have your Mountain Dew now,
And
is not
there's
the
nowhere
place
in
for
here I've
government.
seen that we're going to do that. That's where I think you're
It's
trying to
right
scare
here in
people,
number
Jason.
9. It's
We're
right
not going
here
to
in
do
number
that.
9.
We're absolutely
We
not.
selected it.
We're
We
not saying they
selected
can't
it.
have 200 ounces. We're saying we're going to put policies that's in for the good of this community,
Then
and
why
you're
is
hiding
it
behind
in here?
big government. Simple.
I'm not hiding behind big government. It's right here in the policies that was selected and made forward.
Sorry,
Also-
Mayor. I apologize to you.
I-
I should not have taken that stance. I apologize, sir.
Understood. This has been a lengthy process that we've gone through, and I know that it has worn the patience of a number of members of the council. Unless anybody else has something constructive to say, I'm going to call for a vote. Roll call, please.
Van Zetten,
No.
Versteeg,
No.
Walling,
Yes.
Yates,
Yes.
Caligiuri?
Yes.
Jimenez?
No.
Tie. Move on to the next meeting. Item D. This is to consider an ordinance amending the city code of the city of Oskaloosa by amending provisions pertaining to chapter 10.48, parking regulations generally, section 10.48.255, the school loading and unloading zones. This is the second reading. The Public Works Department is requesting to update the current code to reflect the Webster School parking improvements along the north side of 5th Avenue East. The existing school loading zone is 390 feet long and can allow a maximum of 15 to 16 parallel parking spaces. The proposed Phase 1 of Webster School parking improvements will allow 23 angled parking spaces, reducing the length of the school loading zone to 320 feet. The proposed angled parking spaces will allow for 7 to 8 additional parking spaces. Planning and Zoning considered this item at their May 12, 2014 meeting and recommended by a vote of 6-0 that the City Council approve amending the section 10.48.255 school loading and unloading zones to accommodate the Webster School on-street parking improvements. So the recommended action from staff is to consider the P&Z recommendation to approve amending section 10.48.255 of the code as presented, and then there's listing in here as to what would change in the actual ordinance. So do we have a motion for approval?
So moved. Second.
Okay, discussion. Second reading, roll call.
Versteg?
Yes.
Walling?
Yes.
Yates?
Yes.
Caligiuri?
Yes.
Jimenez?
Yes.
Van Zetten?
Yes.
Okay, that passes. Item E, considering an ordinance to establish a no parking zone along both sides of South 4th Street from 15th Avenue East to a point 25 feet north of 15th Avenue East. Second reading again. The Public Works Department received a request to restrict parking along South 4th Street from 13th Avenue East to 15th Avenue East. Currently, there are no parking restrictions on either side of this section of South 4th Street. The street pavement is chip seal. The width of the street varies from 22 to 26 feet. This section of street does experience a higher than normal level of bus and truck traffic due to the presence of the Oskaloosa School Bus Garage and other businesses along 13th Avenue East. Planning and Zoning Commission at their meeting on March 10, 2014 considered the request to restrict parking along South 4th Street from 13th Avenue East to 15th Avenue East, and at this meeting they asked staff to research the possibility of converting this section of street to a one-way, southbound traffic only. The survey was conducted with the one-way street option listed with the parking restriction options. Of the respondents, 2 of them, 20%, wanted to leave the on-street parking as is. 70%, or 7, wanted to prohibit the parking on both sides at all times. And 10%, wants to prohibit parking on the west side at all times. None of the respondents opted to convert the street to a one-way street. At their meeting on April 14, the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended by a vote of 3-2 to approve southbound one-way traffic along South 4th Street from 13th Avenue East to 15th Avenue East, along with a parking restriction along the east side of the said section of South 4th. The council at their meeting, City Council, at their meeting on April 21st, approved the first reading of the ordinance to restrict parking along both sides of South 4th Street between 13th Avenue East and 15th Avenue East. However, at their meeting on May 5th, the City Council requested staff to amend the motion and revise the ordinance to restrict parking along both sides of South 4th Street from 15th Avenue East to a point 25 feet north of 15th Avenue East. So we've got notes in here as to how the things would change. We have a motion for approval.
So moved. So moved. Second.
Discussion.
I guess I had one call on this, and they thought that the 25 feet would not really accomplish a lot on the no parking side of that, so. I'm just reporting what I got the call on, but I could see where maybe that was it. He was wondering when they're going to put the signs up because, in fact, everybody was parking back down next to the corner again, so. Just saying. Okay.
One more reading and the signs can go up.
There you go. That's what I told him to. So, after tonight.
Okay. Roll call.
Walling?
Yes.
Yates?
Yes.
Caligiuri?
Yes.
Jimenez?
Yes.
Van Zetten?
Yes.
Versteg?
Yes.
Okay, that passes. Item F. Considering an ordinance amending the City Code Chapter 8.08 to allow more expeditious abatement of repeat nuisance offenses. This is a second reading. There's also a request in here to waive the third reading of the ordinance. City ordinances allow for the abatement of nuisance properties, and that process typically requires owners to receive a notice to abate. It provides an opportunity to correct the nuisance before formal action is taken by the city. An exception to this process exists in situations where the enforcement officer determines that a nuisance constitutes an imminent, clear, and compelling danger to health, safety, or welfare of persons or property. In those situations, the enforcement officer is authorized to remedy the nuisance without a prior notice and hearing. The above referenced process generally addresses most nuisance issues. However, it does not provide much assistance to quickly remedy repeat offender situations where an offensive nuisance exists but does not otherwise constitute an imminent, clear, and compelling danger to health, safety, or welfare. This item proposes amendments to Chapter 8.08, that will allow the city to more expeditiously remedy repeat nuisance offenders. Chief Neff is requesting the third reading of the ordinance be waived so staff can quickly remedy nuisances that are created by repeat offenders. So do we have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Okay. Any discussion?
Why are we specifically waiving the third reading? I mean, I understand that there's problems, but
I just asked because it was, you can always say no, but it was, it's going to extend it out into July. We're just losing another 30 days.
Do you have specific problem?
We have some that we could, obviously, if it was, the third reading was waived, we could move ahead and start with some abatement procedure.
Now, are these ones that's already been notified?
These are repeat offenders, yes.
But you've been notified them in the past already, and
Yes,
that's...
yes.
Doug's going to hit me because his point on the sidewalks were very good about not changing what we do. But I'm going to use the same. We've done this one other time I can think of. I don't think we can keep changing it when it's us on the third reading and then holding strong like we do with the citizens on the third reading. That's my comment. I mean, I grant you it's probably a no-brainer, and I'd like to help the chief get started, but that doesn't sit good with me, I guess.
did you second that?
Was there no second? I'm sorry. No discussion yet. Mary
So
didn't tell
far,
me.
we just have a motion and a second on the second reading. We don't
Second,
have a
right,
motion and
right.
a second
I
on
wasn't
the
here,
waiving. So it was Caligari and Yates.
So I'm okay on the discussion.
Yep.
Tell Jason, please.
No, I thought we were discussing the second. I didn't realize the
Okay.
second's going to be in two motions.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So with that in mind, is there a motion to waive the third reading?
I'll make that motion.
Motion. Do we have a second? Okay, it's going to die for lack of a second.
Tried to help you, Mark.
Hey, we'd love to do it, but Tom's point was too bad.
Yeah, I told you, he hit me.
No.
Roll call, please.
Yates.
Yes.
Caligari.
Yes.
Jimenez.
Yes.
Penzetton.
Yes.
Versteg.
Yes.
Walling.
Yes.
Okay, that passes. Okay, moving on to item number G. This is consider a motion authorizing the approval of pay request number 1 in the amount of $75,167.80 going to Stevens Concrete for the First Avenue East Sidewalk Project. The city has received the pay request from Stevens Concrete for work completed through May 23rd of 2014 on the First Avenue East Sidewalk Project. Staff has reviewed the pay request, found it to be satisfactory for work completed on the project. Pay request number 1 reflects work associated with the storm sewer piping and intakes, concrete pavement and sidewalk, and electrical wiring for the light poles. Total cost of the project will be shared by the city and the property owners. All property owners have paid their share of the cost. Therefore, the staff is recommending council approve pay request number 1 to Stevens in the amount of $75,167.80, and the breakdown is for our part of the agenda. We have a motion for approval.
So moved. Second.
Okay, any discussion?
I guess I just have a question. When is it supposed to be wrapped up, Michael, do we know, or?
This week, I'm assuming, if the weather cooperates. The plan was to wrap it up this week.
It's close.
What does that mean? Because it's supposed to rain like 2 or 3 inches.
Well, if it's raining, then it may. If it rains, I mean, I don't know. The painting job is left, so depending on the paint conditions, so it should be dry.
So that includes the light poles and everything, when you said it'd be wrapped up?
No, the light poles, I think, my understanding was it's still 2 or 3 weeks delayed, I think, too.
So the whole project wrap-up is 30 days? Is that what you're talking?
The contract for Stevens Concrete should be wrapped up.
Right.
But as far as the light poles, that is with a different contractor. So basically that'll take another 2 or 3 weeks too.
Okay. And again, I'm talking about the project that would be finished for the community. You're talking another 30 days roughly. All right, that's all. Thank you.
But they have worked hard. They worked in the rain, they've worked at night. I mean, they've tried to get out of there, I think.
No,
Yeah.
it hasn't been long. I'm just.
No, I know.
It's
I'm
done.
just,
Yeah.
Any other comments? Roll call, please.
Callegeri.
Yes.
Geminus.
Yes.
Van Zetten.
Yes.
Versteg.
Yes.
Walling.
yes.
Yates.
Yes.
Okay, that passes. Item H, consider a motion approving pay request number 3 to Norris Asphalt Paving. It's in the amount of $402,836.27. It's for the C Avenue East and North 3rd Street Improvement Rehabilitation Project. We have received pay request number 3 from Norris. This amount reflects the total work completed as of May 23rd, 2014, total of $718,659.67, minus the previous payments of $279,890.42, and the 5% retainage, $35,932.98. The items on this pay application are mainly related to the work associated with placing the asphalt overlay. Some additional full-depth concrete street patches and curb and gutter were also completed. So as of May 23rd, 2014, all major construction items had been completed. The only item remaining is the seeding of the disturbed areas. And so you've got the breakdown in costs there. We have a motion for approval.
So move. Second.
Any discussion?
Got a question. It is smooth,
Yeah.
but the manholes, the risers don't go clear to the top of the asphalt. Is that the way it should be?
No, I think we need to still, we haven't done a final walkthrough of the project. The manhole should flush with the
Because
pavement.
that's what the riser's for, isn't it? To get the steel lid level with the asphalt. Yeah.
Any other discussion?
So that gets taken care of out of the retainage? Is that?
No, we should be walking through the project. And yeah, we shouldn't be paying if the risers are not flushed with the pavement, then we should not be paying for the retainage. So the retainage covers for the.
Okay.
But Norris is going to take care of that? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, we haven't done the final walkthrough, but
Okay.
I would certainly make sure that those are covered.
Roll call.
Geminus.
Yes.
Van Zetten.
Yes.
Versteg.
Yes.
Walling.
Yes.
Yates.
Yes.
Callegeri.
Yes.
Okay, that passes. Finally, item 8, this is reports and items from city staff. City manager.
Mayor and Council, just a brief update on the acquisition and demolition of 517 B Avenue West. We have not executed the documents to acquire that property yet, and we were exploring the cost of demolition. Abatement for asbestos, the testing is about $5,000 to do that, $4,500. We have not pursued that just yet, but there are some indications that there could be asbestos in that property. That would need to be remediated prior to demolition. And the initial demolition cost before knowing about asbestos was roughly $30,000. So
Could we look at another 10, besides the testing, another 10 to
it just depends on how much they find. Yeah, the fire station facility, the joint shared water fire station facility, the whole roofing material was asbestos, and so that was roughly $20,000 just for that particular removal. So it can vary obviously based on what you find, but hopefully if there is the increased cost on the one side for asbestos, you'd see a decrease on the demolition cost because they're removing a lot of material. So we're still working through that, but it kind of gives you somewhat of a ballpark on what it could cost us. If there are no strong objections, we're still presuming that the city is interested in acquisition and ultimately potential demolition. That's all I have, Mayor.
Okay. City clerk, anything?
No, sir.
City attorney, anything?
I'd like to thank you.
Okay. Moving on. City council members, how about if we start at the other end? Jason?
I talked with Mike a little bit at Keelish. The parking lot behind the Legion there in St. Mary's Church, is that going to get pea gravelled, or what do we have happening there, if anything?
We were just talking about that today, and there's, given the condition of that, we know that there are a number of patches, concrete, asphalt. We're going to talk to Norris Asphalt about taking a look at that and maybe doing a little more extensive repair work to it. So it's going to be something that we don't necessarily hit right now. We'll probably come back to it. In addition, I'd like to fix the sidewalks in that area. If you've noticed, it's a touchy subject tonight. But I'd like to address that so there's a clear definition of the sidewalks that are on the north side of that parking lot.
Will it be finished up before the year, or could this?
I would say we could certainly try to pea gravel it before the end of the year, but if we want to do something maybe a little more extensive, then I don't know that it'll happen.
Okay, so you got to have another discussion on that specifically.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. That's all I have. Thanks.
Tom?
Doug's suggestion about if we have some kind of committee to figure out on sidewalks, are we going anywhere with that?
Certainly like to. I don't like how we left it with Mr. Gillespie, but.
Well, and it's a tie vote, but I mean, that'll get fixed next time. But I mean, I'm just saying, and I want to say again, I agree with what Doug said, but I just thought the circumstances were different here, but that may not be the right way, so.
Well, we do have strategic planning that the city council, an exercise we're going to be going through. We have budgeted a very tight time amount for that. But it's my goal that that'll get us started down the road of actually having a vision of what it is the city council wants to have as a city, where Blue Zones enters into it, and where sidewalks enters into it. And we've had a number of exchanges between council members that have been difficult, and it tries the patience of people here as well as our citizens. And so it's my hope that we can start down that road with that strategic planning exercise first. I don't know if that answers your question, Tom, but...
Well, no, it's open-ended, obviously. I mean, when Doug said it ought to be something that staff can just answer them,
well,
but it's pretty simple now. They can answer them now.
That's what I was thinking.
You're going to put them back.
Yeah, I mean, the ordinance is pretty clear that if the city council sticks to its ordinances, then there is no doubt.
But the ordinances have been ignored so many times in the past 10 years with new developments where there's no sidewalks.
And new streets and no sidewalks.
New streets, no sidewalks.
Yeah, that once.
Yeah, we're stuck
So
with the
back
ball.
to this idea of what's the vision? What is it we want it to be? But it's not about me right now. Anything else, Tom?
No, sir.
Okay, Doug?
Yes, going back to the Blue Zones item, I apologize to the mayor. I'd also like to apologize to Councilmember Van Zetten for rudely interrupting you. We're trying to make your point. I may not agree with you, but that certainly does not give me the right to interrupt when you're making your point. So I apologize to you, sir.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Tom?
Nothing. Thank you.
Aaron?
Nope.
Joe?
Not a thing.
Okay, I'm not going to add anything to that. Moving on. Item number 10, consider holding a closed session under Iowa Code Section 21.5.1.I to evaluate the professional competency of an individual whose appointment, hiring, performance, or discharge is being considered when necessary to prevent needless and irreparable injury to that individual's reputation, and that individual requests a closed session and then reconvene in open session to consider approval of a contract. We will be doing the evaluation of City Manager Michael Schrock, who's been employed by the city since June 15, 2009. And so, do we have a motion to go into closed session? Okay, discussion? Roll call, please.
Van Zetten?
Yes.
Versteg?
Yes.
Walling?
Yes.
Yates?
Yes.
Callegeri?
Yes.
Jimenez?
Yes.
Okay, that passes. So we're going to go into closed session at this time. We want to thank everyone for attending this evening. Okay, we're back out of closed session, back into open session. After doing the performance evaluation of the city manager and discussion regarding the compensation of that position, we have come to a number of contract modifications for the 2014-15 fiscal year. The first was that this would be a 4-year contract with an expiration date of June 15 of 2018. The salary is being increased to $117,660 per year. The performance evaluation was done in such a way that it triggered a performance bonus of $4,000, and also cleaning up some language that the accrual of vacation should be in line with the way it is handled for all other employees on city staff. And number 5, the retirement, we need to reduce the percentage amount that is being contributed so that it matches the maximum allowable of $17,500 for retirement contribution. And finally, also making these changes effective as of the new contract date of June 15, 2014. Do you have a motion supporting that?
So move.
Okay, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Walling?
Yes.
Yates?
Yes.
Caliguri?
Yes.
Jimenez?
Yes.
Benzetton?
Yes.
Versteg?
Yes.
Okay, that passes. Seeing no other business, do we have a motion for adjournment? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.